The offseason always tells a story, and right now, the story surrounding the Detroit Lions is one of tension between ambition and restraint. This is a franchise that has climbed out of irrelevance and into legitimate contention, but staying there is a completely different challenge. What we are watching unfold is not just a roster shuffle. It is a philosophical crossroads for general manager Brad Holmes and the direction of this team's Super Bowl window. There is no denying that the Lions have taken hits this offseason, losing double-digit contributors, moving on from key rotational pieces, and watching established players walk out the door is never easy for a contender. Even with a wave of incoming free agents, the reality is that most of those additions are short-term, low-risk deals. That tells you everything you need to know about how this front office is thinking. They are protecting flexibility, but that flexibility comes at the cost of immediate certainty. And that brings us to the central issue. The Lions, as currently constructed, may not be better than they were at the end of last season. That is a dangerous place to be in a league where standing still often means falling behind, especially in the NFC, where competition is tightening and teams are aggressively loading up for deep playoff runs. So what is the real objective from here? It is not just about filling holes. It is about choosing a direction. And right now, Detroit seems caught between two strategies. On one hand, they are committed to sustainability. On the other hand, their actions, particularly in the draft, have shown a willingness to sacrifice future assets for immediate returns. This contradiction is where the offseason truly becomes fascinating. Brad Holmes has made it clear that salary cap discipline is a priority. With a core of homegrown talent getting paid, the margin for error is shrinking. That is the price of success in the NFL. When you draft well, you eventually have to pay those players, and that squeezes your ability to make splash moves in free agency. Detroit is now living in that reality. But if you are going to operate under financial constraints, then the draft becomes your lifeline. Cheap, controllable talent is the only way to sustain a contender. And that is where the Lions' approach becomes questionable. Trading up repeatedly, sacrificing mid-round picks, and limiting the overall number of selections creates a bottleneck. You are putting immense pressure on a smaller group of rookies to hit immediately. That is not sustainable, no matter how confident you are in your scouting department. The Lions need volume. They need more swings. They need more chances to uncover contributors who can play meaningful snaps on rookie deals. Because without that influx of affordable talent, the roster will gradually erode under the weight of its own financial commitments. This is why the biggest remaining goal for Detroit is not flashy. It is not even particularly exciting. It is simply this: accumulate more draft capital. That could mean trading down from pick 17. It could mean moving back multiple times. It could mean leveraging future picks instead of spending them. Whatever the method, the objective is clear. The Lions need to restock their pipeline. And there is precedent for this approach working beautifully. When Holmes traded down in a previous draft and still landed impact players, it showcased the power of patience and discipline. That is the blueprint. Not aggressive, repeated trade-ups, but calculated moves that maximize value across the board. Because at the end of the day, this is about extending the window, not just chasing one Super Bowl run, but creating multiple opportunities to compete at the highest level. Now, at the same time, there is another path the Lions could take. A more aggressive, win-now approach that directly addresses one of their most glaring weaknesses. And that is the pass rush. Aiden Hutchinson has already established himself as a cornerstone player. He is the type of edge rusher who can take over games, disrupt offenses, and anchor a defense. But football, especially in January, is about waves of pressure. One elite pass rusher is not enough. You need a complementary force. Someone who can win one-on-one consistently and prevent offenses from simply sliding protection in one direction. This is where the idea of acquiring Josh Sweat becomes incredibly compelling. Sweat is not a projection. He is not a developmental prospect. He is a proven, technically refined pass rusher who has already demonstrated high-level production against top competition. His ability to win with power, technique, and versatility makes him a perfect fit in a defense that values multiple fronts and creative pressure packages. Imagine the impact of pairing him with Hutchinson. Offenses would be forced into impossible decisions. Double one, and the other has a one-on-one matchup. Try to chip both, and you are limiting your route concepts. It changes everything about how opponents have to game plan against Detroit. And it is not just about sacks. It is about collapsing pockets, forcing quarterbacks into mistakes, and creating opportunities for the secondary. A dominant pass rush elevates the entire defense. What makes this scenario even more intriguing is that it is financially feasible. The structure of Sweat's contract allows the Lions to absorb his cap hit without completely disrupting their current financial plan. Yes, there are future implications, but those can be managed through restructures and creative accounting. The real question is not whether they can afford him. It is whether they are willing to shift their philosophy. Because trading for a player like Sweat represents a clear signal. It says that the Lions are ready to push their chips to the center of the table, that they believe their window is now, that they are willing to accept future complications in exchange for present-day impact. And that is where the debate becomes truly interesting. Do you prioritize long-term sustainability, building through the draft, and maintaining flexibility? Or do you recognize that opportunities to contend are fragile, and sometimes you have to be aggressive to capitalize on them? Right now, the Lions are straddling that line, and that indecision could ultimately define their season. This is the moment where you, as a fan, need to be part of the conversation. Because every great franchise is shaped not just by its front office, but by the expectations surrounding it. So if you are invested in where this team is headed, now is the time to speak up. Drop your thoughts, your strategy, your vision for this roster in the comments, and be part of the discussion about what this team should do next. Because the truth is, there is no perfect answer, only trade-offs. If Detroit focuses on the draft and accumulates picks, they are betting on their ability to develop talent and sustain success over time. That path requires patience, but it offers stability. If they pursue a player like Sweat, they are accelerating the timeline. They are maximizing the current roster and taking a direct shot at a championship. Both approaches have merit. Both carry risk. But doing neither, failing to fully commit to one direction, is the most dangerous outcome of all. As the draft approaches, every move will matter. Every decision will ripple through the roster. And by the time the season kicks off, we will have a much clearer picture of who the Lions really are. Are they a team building for the future? Or are they a team ready to seize the present? Because in the NFL, you rarely get to be both. And that is why this offseason, more than any other in recent memory, feels like a defining chapter for Detroit. Now as we look ahead, one thing is certain. The Lions are no longer chasing relevance. They are chasing greatness. And that requires bold decisions, calculated risks, and a clear vision of what it takes to reach the top. If you have been following this team, if you believe in what they are building, and if you want to stay locked in on every move, every rumor, and every breakdown like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this journey is just getting started, and you do not want to miss what comes next.